as Street Pianist, a celebration of all the wonderful musicians who play street piano, even when nobody's listening. Johann!
Hello, Claire. Hi.
Hello, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely a pleasure. So we met at the piano finale, which at the moment when we're recording this, that hasn't actually been screened on TV, but by the time this episode goes out, it will have been. But we were both there and you were playing the piano and you were really noticeable because not only were you playing a cover of the Ace of Spades, which is absolute genius, but also at one point you jumped up onto the stool and addressed the crowd. And I just loved it. I just loved that element of showmanship. So tell me a bit about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I was pretty fired up for that performance. Yeah, I was really fired up and I wanted to get the crowd going.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure that the crowd there was going to have a good time. I wanted to get them going. And I love rock and metal music. I love going to rock and metal gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And the best bands are the ones that can really engage with the crowd well and get them going.
Yeah.
Bands like Slipknot. Corey Taylor's an amazing frontman and he's got this amazing stage presence, and I'd love to, even though it's piano and it's a bit more difficult to do with the piano because the piano is more quiet. Mm-hmm. It's more of a quiet reflective instrument and crowds are meant to be quiet. But I want to try and create that sort of rock and metal style stage presence for a piano crowd.
Yeah. No, I mean, you wanted to leave an impression and you did. You left an impression on me. I loved what you did. And it's funny what you say about the piano. It's hard to be a showman with the piano. And I guess there's one fundamental problem with the piano, which is that you're sitting down when you play it.
Exactly.
And
you can't quite run around. Yeah.
You can't pull it around the stage with you.
Yeah. Unless you get one of those carry-on keyboards that you can run around with, but with a proper piano it'd be difficult to do that. Yeah.
And I think as well, most people, because when we learn to play piano, we learn it by playing a piano, and you learn all of your techniques and everything in a sitting position. So even if you got one of those carry-on things, I imagine you'd have to kind of relearn. I can't imagine playing a piano at that angle apart from anything else, with it not being stuck out in front of me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but you did anyway. You did make an impression, and I know you've told me that you also like to play pianos in train stations. And is that what does that scratch a similar itch? Oh, not train stations specifically, but street pianos. I mean, why do you do that? What does it do for you?
I just love to play piano in public. I think it's a good way, because when I was younger, I did my grades, but I never actually played the piano, did many live performances. And when I was in school, I remember I was in year 10 and I was asked to play at the school music festival. So I played, and I remember when I went on to play, I was absolutely terrified. My hands were shaking. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of stage fright. And it all really started because after graduating from uni, I started getting back into the piano again. And one of my friends asked me to do a performance for her Law Society dinner. And I needed to find a way in which I could perform in public to overcome the stage fright and help me practice controlling my nerves. So the best way to do that was by going onto the public pianos. You don't have to do all these complicated sign-ups like you would for, say, an open mic night. You could just walk up to any piano and play. And it was quite lucky because they only started putting the public pianos out there about 2012. So I played there 2016 at King's Cross St Pancras station. That was the first time I played on a public piano.
Yeah.
And then one of my friends filmed it and shared it on Facebook, and quite a lot of my friends liked it. They're like, "Oh my God, Johann, I didn't realize you were so good at piano." So then afterwards I started learning new pieces, and as a way of, I just wanted to look for more opportunities to play in public. So that's the best way to do that,
Yeah.
really, by just doing
And do you remember what it felt like, though, the very first time you played a street piano when you were in King's Cross, St Pancras?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was absolutely terrified. I was really nervous and my hands were shaking. I probably made a few slip-ups, but I think over time, the more the more I went out to the public pianos and started playing, the less nervous I got. Now it gets to a point where I can go, I'm not really that nervous. Only if I've only just learned a new piece or it's a more difficult piece, I might get nervous. But now I'm just more about trying to enjoy the moment and try and connect with the crowd.
Yeah. And how often do you do it?
Well, it depends really, it varies. I want to do it more frequently. I probably haven't done it as much as I should have done in the last couple of years or so, but I'd say probably like once every 3 to 6 months probably. But it would be good if I could start doing it more once every month or so. That'd be great.
Yeah. And you said you've been doing it a bit less in the last couple of years. Does that mean before that you were doing it more often?
I think so. So in 2021, I did my ARSM diploma. So in the lead up to that, I was trying to spend more time going out and playing in public because the diploma exam was quite a high pressure performance. So I wanted to practice playing in a higher pressure environment. And if I made mistakes, I would look back on those mistakes, come back home and try and address those issues and then go out again the following week and play in public. And that was a good way for me to help with my confidence. Yeah.
So just when you play in public, like if you go and play a street piano, are you deliberately trying to get an audience? Like, do you want a reaction from the people who are passing by?
I did. Well, I wouldn't say I deliberately try to get an audience. I think usually when I play, most people just pass by. And especially when I'm playing a really advanced technical piece, I find that really disheartening, frustrating when people don't really acknowledge me.
Yeah.
So then, if they don't acknowledge me, I like try and milk it sometimes. So I just scream, "Are you not entertained?" Like in the Gladiator film. But even then, it's still good material. Like I film my performances, so it's good material for me to post on TikTok and that kind of thing.
I mean, that's why I asked.
Make memes from
That's
that.
why I asked about audience,
Yeah.
because I know when you play in, particularly in train stations, when people are busy, they're on their way somewhere. They're not necessarily paying any attention at all to person playing
Yeah,
piano.
exactly.
And some people like that, and some people don't. I mean,
Yeah.
you want an audience, don't you? You hope that people will pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But then at the same time, there are moments where if I'm playing a super, super difficult piece and I know the audience, people aren't watching me or anything, I don't really think too much about it and I'm a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, like, even if I make a mistake or something, it's not the end of the world. No one's really going to care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that helps me a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of you kind of goading the audience though, and trying to get more from them. Does it work when you do that? How do people react?
Sometimes it works. Sometimes the crowd's a bit dead, but that's part of any performance. Even if a musician was to perform at a concert, certain places the audience might be dead, but certain places they might be a good vibe. It's just part of being a musician, I guess, and playing live.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
And what have been your best audience reactions?
Well, that's a good question. In all honesty, I think when I did my performances on the piano, that was a really, really special moment. And I found it really, really interesting as well, because usually when I'm playing piano in a normal environment, there isn't much of a crowd. But when I played in Victoria, it was a very unique experience because I think the crowd, they knew that something was going on. They saw Claudia Winkelman, they saw these TV cameras, so they wanted to be a part of that. So I played on that and I wanted to get the crowd going there. In Manchester, there was a bigger audience, and even my mum was saying when she saw like most of the players that were asked to go and play, the audience, they were just talking in the background, they were talking with each other, but with me, I just wanted to get the audience attention and just be crazy. So I just wanted to be as loud and brash as possible.
Yeah.
And then I got them cheering. They were all cheering for me. So that was really good. It was a really good...
You got a great reaction.
It was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've wanted to do. Like, I'd love to do more live performances in the future.
Yeah.
And just seeing the crowd reaction was amazing.
Yeah.
At the end of the show, when the audience members were coming up to me and talking about how great I was, and they were saying really lovely things to me, it really cheered me up and it meant a lot to me. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for showing the love as well.
Oh. Well, I mean, there's so many. I was going to say, actually, because you just said in Manchester, and I was thinking, but you weren't in the Manchester episode. And it's so funny. I realised I don't think of Aviva that night as having happened in Manchester, because it was like, it ended up on national TV and it was part of a national TV programme. So it somehow kind of lives in my head in some special place that isn't Manchester. But of course, the finale concert happened in Manchester, and you did get a great reaction from the audience. And I guess what was probably extra special about that was that you knew that a lot of the people in that audience were pianists, because at the finale concert you had all of the finalists, but you had all of the pianists who'd all participated in all of the episodes, which I calculated as being 75 pianists. So there were 75 pianists in that audience. So the fact that people were coming up and giving you praise, that hopefully that gave you, a bit of a boost.
Yeah, definitely. And I received a lot of support, especially from my fellow performers in London. They were so lovely, and they were like really great performers as well. They showed me a lot of love and support, so I really appreciated that, and I remain in contact with them now.
That's good.
So hopefully moving forward, I mean, that's one of the main positives I got from this experience. Moving forward, I can hopefully remain in contact, and maybe we could do some sort of collaborations or something. I'd
love it, because I'm in touch with some of the other pianists as well, and obviously through this podcast, I'll be like interviewing a few of them. So absolutely, yeah. And you talked about Claudia, the fact that Claudia was there, and people in the station were aware that she was there. So like I arrived when I did my performance, I actually arrived the day before, and the very first thing I did was go to the train station to see the piano, because they filmed over 2 days, so I knew that they would be there when I went as well. And I needed the loo, so the first thing I did was go to the toilet. But I did spot like the cameras and the piano, and I could see Claudia Winkelman was there. And while I was in the toilet, this is my podcast, so I'm allowed to swear. And anyway, I'm just reporting what I heard. But while I was in there, I heard these two women talking, and they were going, "Oh my God, it's Claudia fucking Winkelman! She's a fucking icon!"
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh God! Oh, that's really funny. Right, I see what's happened. The sound is cut out because I was squeaking, so I'm going to have to portray excitement.
Because you're swearing so much, you censored yourself.
I don't think it's censoring. I think it's because I squeaked. So what they were saying was, and I'll do it in a slightly less squeaky voice, they were saying, oh my God, it's Claudia fucking Winkelman. She's a fucking icon. I can't fucking believe it. They were just absolutely beside themselves because they'd just been Claudia Winkelman in a train station. But then somebody asked me the other day what it was like being interviewed by her. And actually, you can't necessarily tell when you watch the TV show. She does interview every single pianist, but they cut that bit out of my bit because obviously they've got too much footage. They have to edit it down. But somebody asked me what it was like, and it just was just over in a shot. I just was like, I mean, I was very focused on the fact that I was about to play the piano. So the adrenaline was coursing through my system anyway. But it was just like, I don't know, it was over before it started is how it felt. But how did it feel to you?
Yeah. So I think... going in, I think for the whole day I was so nervous. And also the funny thing, I think I was so self-conscious as well. I was thinking to myself, oh, I have to get this performance right, I have to act in a certain way. But I felt my personality didn't come through as much as it could have done. And I was really nervous. But when I went to see Claudia Winkelman, she was so lovely to me. She was an absolute sweetheart. And she was just so warm and friendly, and it helped calm down my nerves, helped me relax a bit more. And it was great speaking to her as well. She's a really lovely person.
She is. It was very cool. So you said you talked about the experience of performing live, and have you performed live in other places as well, apart from street pianos?
So I usually do the main place is open mic nights.
Mm.
I actually performed at open mic night last Wednesday, a couple of days ago.
Uh-huh.
The only issue is there isn't many open mic nights out there that have pianos.
Yeah.
So I try and look for ones online that do have pianos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about performing at one next Monday, or they run this most Mondays, so I'll probably do it some Monday in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do piano. Well, I do one main piano competition. That's the North London Music Festival.
Ah.
So I've been doing that pretty much every year since Well, I did it first time in 2009. Then I didn't do it again for a while, and I went back to it in 2018, and I've been doing it every year except for the COVID affected
Right.
years.
That must be pretty
Yeah.
daunting, though. I wouldn't do that. I mean, like it was enough being on the piano and being aware of how much talent I was surrounded by, and that I was going to end up being compared against them. But it was still a kind of an informal comparison, and it's not
Yeah,
really a talent
exactly.
show. Or they try very hard to make it not like a talent show, and it's not really a competition. But a competition is a competition. It's in the name, and
Yeah,
I just don't. I'd be like,
yeah,
no, I don't
exactly.
want to be compared to other pianists. I'd be like, no, no.
Yeah,
I think that takes
yeah.
bravery to go in for something like that.
I mean, for me, I'm not really a big fan of the concept of competitions because I feel like every piano player has their own story to tell through the piece of music, and one interpretation of the same piece could be completely different to another
Yeah.
one, but they could both sound just as beautiful as each
Mm-hmm.
other. I'd say that for me, I just wanted to have more of an experience of performing live, and I'd love to have more opportunities to play live as well. So if anyone happens to listen to this
Uh-huh.
and is looking for a
Oh,
piano player to
Johann.
play live, give
Yeah,
me a
get
shout.
Johann.
Yeah.
Get Johann to your festival, to your event, whatever it is. Let him know about the open mic nights that have good pianos. Because of course the other issue
Yeah,
is that you never know what kind of condition a piano is going to be in, particularly street
exactly.
pianos. I
Yeah.
mean, do you do,
Yeah.
do you
Oh
have
yeah.
favorite pianos, or do you have ones that you avoid?
Oh yeah, this is something I love to talk about because you get all sorts of pianos across London now. So the ones in King's Cross, St Pancras. So back in the day when the Elton John piano came out about 2017, that was in such good condition, but now it's like completely worn out. I don't really think the people there maintain it properly either. So there's a lot of broken keys, broken notes, and then there's another brown piano there. That one is completely gone now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've done anything to make it better, but they're not great. I'd say the best ones in London at the moment are the ones in Battersea Power
I've been
Station.
told
They're
that.
pretty new and they're
Yeah.
pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, obviously the one donated by the piano at Victoria Station. That one's a really, really good one. I played there last month,
Yeah.
and the way it felt, the weight of it was really nice and light. I was able to run through the fast pieces and everything. It was really
Yeah.
good. It had a good feel to it. And there's also one in Devonshire Square in Liverpool Street.
Ah.
So that one, I haven't been there in like a couple of years, but when I went there last time, it was a good one. It felt good. And there's one that is at my local garden centre, but that one's not great at all.
Garden
It's really,
centre.
really
I
out of
love
tune.
it. A piano in a garden centre. Oh, it's a
Yeah,
shame it's out of
yeah,
tune. I think the worst one I've
yeah.
ever played is the one at Euston. Like the one at Euston is just
Oh yeah, that one was terrible. Yeah, yeah,
really bad.
yeah.
But
Like the middle E note is broken as well, and that's like bang in the middle, like when you want to play most of your tunes as well. So it's really difficult.
yeah. Yeah, thankfully the acoustics are terrible, so most people can't hear you anyway. Like because it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuck under the stairs. And quite often like
yeah.
because Euston's the
Exactly.
station I see most often in London because I live in Manchester. So if I travel to London, I always
Yeah,
arrive via Euston. And I always look at
yeah,
the piano and I always think and there, but quite often there's people just sitting on it, just using it as a place to sit because they're tired. Like,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
just sitting on the piano stool. But no, it's pretty bad. But that's another thing, acoustics, because quite often you'll have a piano like where the one used to be at Piccadilly in Manchester wasn't very good. Where the one that's been donated by the piano, I think, is in a better location acoustically. It's a bit more out of the way, but it's better for the acoustics. But that's something you really notice. Like when pianos are outdoors, they're pretty useless because the sound just disappears into the air. It's got nothing to reverberate off. Have you noticed that?
True.
Like if any pianos have better acoustics than others because of the space they're in?
I think the one with the best acoustics actually is King's Cross. I think it's in the location of it is beautiful, and at the top there's this really big glass ceiling, so it really fills the room when you're playing. But it's such a shame the pianos are in bad condition, because especially with the Elton John one. When it was in good condition, I remember playing some Chopin pieces. I played the Raindrop Prelude, and it sounded amazing there when I was playing that. And the reverb and stuff, it was a lovely sound. The Battersea Power Station is pretty decent. It's not as good as King's Cross, but it's still got a pretty decent sound. It's not a bad location, I guess. But I think because it's in such a big space, it's not as good as St Pancras, the acoustics.
Right. But it is indoors, because I haven't been there. Is it undercover?
It's on the bottom floor, but with Battersea Power Station, it's just such a big space, and it's got big ceilings and everything, so
but at least
it doesn't contain the sound as much.
Yeah, but it's not open to the elements. I think that means that the quality can last a bit longer. Because there's one in Manchester outside Full Size Piano Shop, which I think it's got worse. Like the first time I played it, it wasn't too bad, but at the moment it is pretty bad. But it has quite good acoustics. So the piano itself is not in great condition at all at the moment, although like a couple of weeks ago when I played it. But it's because it's in like the shop front and the door to the shop are kind of in a recess. So there's like an alcove that's set back from the street. So it's got its own ceiling. So at least it also means it's protected. And I know they take it in at night as well. So they don't leave it out overnight. And it's a bit protected from the elements. There again, it is Manchester, so rain can still get in. But it's because it's in this little kind of alcove and because it's next to a shop window, it means the sound bounces around quite nicely. And you can hear it as well. It also creates its own little sort of booth almost, so that protects it a little bit from the kind of background noise of the street. But it's funny how you start noticing things like that. And you said you film yourself as well, so you'll be noticing what what it sounds like when you play it back.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I noticed as well, one of my main critiques about the Victoria piano, the piano itself is great. It's in a really like quiet spot. It's in a bit of a strange area in the station. It's not like in the middle where all the crowd is. It's kind of next to one of the train platforms. So the sound might get overshadowed by the train. And also in Victoria, they have these little, I don't know what you call them. They're these little like trucks or vehicles that drive. And when they drive, they have this massive, loud beeping sound.
I know the ones you mean, like little luggage trucks.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and it can be really, really disruptive sometimes. When you're playing the piano and it rings in your ear. And even when we were filming that day for the piano, when I was being interviewed, every couple of minutes I had to be stopped because the beeping was going on. So he had to wait until the beeping
I
went
had a
away.
similar thing when they were interviewing me in the station. There were announcements. That was what was causing us problems because the announcements are really
Yeah,
loud. So every time there was an announcement, they
yeah,
had to
yeah,
stop and then start again. Yeah, it must be an
yeah.
absolute nightmare for trying to make TV programs in train stations.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
They do a good job when you think about it. So, like, how do you film yourself? What kind of equipment do you use? Do you just use your phone or?
Yeah, I just use my phone. So before I had older phone, well, a cheaper phone really. So it didn't have the best video quality. So there was a guy I was working with. He was telling me that I need to get a better quality camera. So I bought a Google Pixel, and the video quality is much better. I just need a proper case because a case for the phone because when I put it against the piano and I'm playing, the phone keeps falling.
Right.
And it's quite dangerous. I don't want a glass to smash or something.
Yeah.
But at least with the case, it will be able to hold
That's what
on
I've got.
to
I've got a case.
piano
And
better.
I learned from another street pianist that because I had been thinking, because I wanted to film myself and I was thinking, well, I can't. If I'm playing the piano, how am I going to film
Yeah,
myself? And I was thinking, I'm going to have to take somebody with me. And then
yeah,
he taught me if you just prop it up at the end of the keyboard so that it's facing towards you, then you get a really
yeah,
nice view and you don't need anybody. That
yeah,
my only worry is that one day somebody's going to steal my phone, but it hasn't happened yet. It obviously
yeah,
hasn't happened to you
yeah, yeah,
either.
yeah,
So like fingers crossed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes every now and then I get maybe a family member or ask a friend to come with me so they can film me as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
So that helps as well.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you do it on your own as well.
Yeah, yeah. These days, mostly I do it by myself. Recently, I've got my mom to film me. It's quite funny seeing her reaction, like whenever passers-by come along, she keeps telling everyone, "That's my son," and she's like so happy and proud. It's quite
Oh,
funny.
that's really sweet. Oh, does she really like your
Yeah,
piano playing then?
yeah, yeah. She really enjoys it, but she's a very honest critique of me. So she'll say when I'm doing well, she'll say when I'm doing badly. So it's good to get objective feedback from her rather than having someone who's just a yes man or yes woman all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic. That's just what you need, isn't it? Yeah. And they say as
yeah,
well that,
yeah,
like
exactly.
for children to learn, I mean, you're not a child, but it's just because it's your parent and,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
they need encouragement, they need support, but they also need critical feedback. You can't just
yeah,
tell a child that they're brilliant at everything all the time because
yeah,
they need
yeah,
to know how to improve.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So the music that you played when I saw you play at Aviva Studios just before the finale
Yeah,
concert, you played the Ace of Spades, and I'm
yeah.
guessing that's I don't know, but I imagine it certainly wouldn't have been something you'd learned when you were doing your grades, and possibly not your diploma either. So, is this like just come? Is this just because you love rock so much? How did you end up choosing that song?
It's funny. So I learned it about a couple of years ago because I was going to do a performance at Westfield's shopping centre in Stratford.
Hmm.
So that I was asked to play for an hour there. So I had about half an hour's worth of stuff from my diploma pieces and about 7 or 8 minutes with a Chopin ballad. So I had to learn a few other pieces. I love rock and metal music,
Hmm.
and when I listened to Ace of Spades by Motorhead, I always thought to myself, I wonder what this would sound like on piano,
Hmm.
and I felt that it would sound good. So a couple of weeks before, I had a look at the guitar tabs online. I was trying to figure out the chords and stuff, and then I look at the guitar solo, and I was trying to play that on the piano, and it sounded really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's not. It didn't take that long to learn because at the left hand there's only a few chords. It's just the solo that's a bit more trickier,
Hmm.
and it's quite fast. It's on the black keys as well, so it's difficult to stay balanced.
Yeah.
But that's what I played. I played that one and the Chopin ballad for the auditions, and the producers they liked it so much they wanted me to play Ace
Brilliant.
of Spades for the
Yeah.
show because they said they hadn't heard anything like that before. It's
Yeah.
something completely different.
Yeah. And where did you
So
get the arrangement?
I basically came up with it myself, really.
Fantastic. I
So I
love
just
it.
looked at because I play a bit of guitar as well, so I was having a look at guitar
Hmm.
tabs, and then playing that on piano, transcribed the notes and played it on piano.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant. And it was one of those where, like, I heard it, and my husband got it quicker than I did. And I was like,
yeah,
I know this, what is it? And you know, when you hear something out of context, you're like, I definitely know this song, but I can't think.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? My husband said it's Ace of Spades. I go, oh yeah, of course it is.
Oh, that's wicked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it sounded brilliant. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And so you said that you sometimes, like, if you're learning new pieces, then you might kind of almost test them out on street pianos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how often do you learn new pieces? How many do you think you might have in your repertoire, like altogether?
I think it really depends on how difficult the piece is, because I still take piano lessons, and I still have the piano teacher I had for about 20 years. So I started going to lessons with him when I was about 9 years old.
Right.
And then after I did my grade 8 in 2011, I stopped taking lessons with him, and then I went back to him about 6.5 years later to do diploma. So these days, I think the pieces he wants me to learn are quite advanced, so they're sort of like high grade 8 or post grade 8 levels, so they take a bit more time to learn.
Yeah, of course.
But I'd love to be able to learn pieces quickly or faster, so I'd be able to like have more pieces to play, and then I'll be able to play more regularly on the piano. So I'd say probably once every 2 to 3 months I can learn a new piece.
Wow. I mean, I'm in awe of that. It takes me a year, like more than a year, to just learn one thing. The thing that I played on the piano, it takes me well over a year to learn it, because I'm old.
Really?
My brain's not plastic anymore. It takes a long time for new stuff to go in. So yeah, you'll be doing way better than me. And the diploma, is that like a full-time thing, or is that a part-time thing?
Oh, it's just more like a part-time thing. It's a side thing, so you can take the diplomas after your grade 8. Mm-hmm. So I did the ARSM exam, so that's a pieces only diploma. And then the next level is the Dip ABRSM. Then you've got the LRSM. That's sort of the level like a lot of professional piano players are. And then FRSM's like the ultimate god mode, but not many people do that, to be honest.
Wow, I did not know this. Right. So, and where are you up to in all of that?
So I did my ARSM, but I've been learning pieces that are LRSM level as well. So those ones are a bit trickier. At the moment, I made a vow to myself to spend a whole year doing La Campanella by Liszt.
Wow.
Which is a crazy, crazy hard piece. So I'm spending about 20 minutes to half an hour a day trying to learn sections.
Right.
But it's taking me like more than a month to learn just one page. Okay. That's how hard it is. The jumps are crazy. You have to like do jumps of like up to 2 octaves on the black keys.
Wow.
And you have to make sure your hand's moving super fast to like get to the right note in time.
Yeah. So how much do you practice a day? Or how often do you?
I mean, if I'm being really honest, I really should be practicing more. I think I've had a lot going on recently, so I haven't been able to practice as much as I would have liked. But on a good day, I could practice between 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
But I'd say recently I've been doing about an hour a day. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's still loads though. That's still impressive. That's an impressive habit, that is. That's not to be sneezed at. And it's really cool that you're learning these really difficult pieces. I mean, I'm just super impressed by all of that. And I imagine as well, if you're playing the really difficult pieces, then you have to think about your posture. And so I was learning about, I can't remember what they call it now, but the thing about embodiment. There's this thing called embodiment where you pay a lot of attention to the relationship between your body and the piano stool and the space around you, and you kind of really situate yourself in space and try to think about how your body's moving. Do you think about those kinds of things?
I think this is something that I've actually started to pay more attention on recently. I don't think, even when I was doing my grade 8, it wasn't something I was paying as much attention to. But especially when you're playing the harder pieces and you have to find a way to play the faster runs, you can't just like rely solely on your fingers. You have to rely on the wrist position, how your wrist is moving and circular motion. And one thing as well that I've started to learn is to try and relax when I'm playing the faster bits, because it's a natural reaction to sort of tense up when you're trying to play faster, because your fingers are trying to force it and make more of an effort. Yeah. But when your hand stays relaxed, you're able to just glide through the piano.
Right. Yeah.
And I was looking up, one of my all-time favorite pianists is Marta Argerich. She's an absolute beast. So there was a video discussing her technique, and she has this special technique called the mantis fingers, where she's like dragging the fingers through the keys, and that helps her stay so relaxed. And then when you see her fingers, they're just so relaxed. She's like flying octaves and doing crazy fast runs, but her hands are just so relaxed during the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing about being relaxed. So I'm going to have to dig it out and find out what it was called, because I have the memory of a flea. But I read a book recently about this whole thing about embodiment and the relationship between your body and the piano and the space around you. And it was talking about how it's really important to get your whole body involved and to relax. And that a lot of the advice that pianists are sometimes given is actually not helpful. It's counterproductive, you know, like having to sit in a particular position, for instance, and being really rigid, because actually you should flow. Your whole body should flow. Your whole skeleton should be involved. And you need to be able to move and flow and kind of, you know, become one with the piano and it's not just about fingers. It's about so much more than fingers. Your whole body is involved in it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me, Johann.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for all your support and everything as well.
Oh, it's an absolute
it'd be good if we could like collaborate somewhere down the line as well. That'd be great.
Oh, it would be wonderful. I'll let you know next time I'm in London, because I still haven't managed to make it to Battersea, for instance. So maybe we could take a trip down there. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you to Anthony Thomas, who provided the theme music, and stay tuned to hear more fascinating stories from street musicians.